I'm going to show you the different elements of FlexTrack history. And to do that, I'm going to go into my unit folder. And under the FlexTrack history folder, there are always two elements. One is the weekly history lessons, and the other is history resources. So depending on the year, this might look a little bit different. There might be a few things added or a few things subtracted in this resources folder, but basically you're always going to have your history and book club overview for the year. This is also located, I believe, in FlexTrack Needs to Know, as well as the Start Quick Guide. And this is going to show you by unit the essential questions for that particular year. It's going to show you your Story of the World chapters, which is the backbone of the learning. It'll also show supplementary books for history. These books are going to be written into the history lessons. So most units you will receive 1 or 2 books for history, and then you will also be receiving a book club pick. So at the end of every unit, we have a classroom book club. It's really fun. It's something that the students look forward to, kind of like an end of the unit celebration. And for the book club picks, your student can read that book at any time during the unit. But for the supplementary history books, those are written into the history lesson. So if possible, please try to keep your student from reading ahead on those. But I know that sometimes they get so excited and that's hard to do. Okay, so back to history resources. We also have this tutorial video if you need just a refresher at any point. And then we have the thinking routine, InfoQuest directions, and rubric. So we'll get back to that after we take a look at our history lessons. But just know that you can always go into the history resources folder if you need to reprint or look at those things again. Okay, so back to our history. We have our 2 folders, and this is the history lessons folder. So I'm going to go in there. Now, for those of you who really do not like to go on to Schoology for a lot of different things, and I certainly don't blame you, I have created the history lessons to be 1 per week. So if you wanted to, you really could actually go in here at the beginning of every unit and just print them all out. I'm going to go into actually week 6 to show you, but they all look basically the same. The earliest weeks are going to be a little bit different just because it's the beginning of the school year. But week 6 is a pretty average looking set of lessons. So you can see day 1 for that week. For week 6, it has a day at a glance. So it's going to tell you just very briefly what you're going to be doing. For this particular day, they're going to be reading The 4 American Inventors, which is one of the supplementary books that tells in learning activities the more specifics about what chapters to read, and then what kind of InfoQuest is going to be required and what needs to be done for that. And then it says student and parent educators should use the rubric provided to score the work. Click here for the link. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that. This is going to take me to that resources link that I showed you earlier. And this is the thinking routine for this particular unit. Now, the InfoQuest will change from unit to unit. It probably won't change every unit, but it will change several times throughout the school year. So it's really important, if you are one of those that wants to just print off and be done with it for the unit, that you look very carefully at the beginning of every unit and you know exactly what it is that you're supposed to do. So the links will always take you to the correct InfoQuest for that unit, but it might be different as the year progresses. So this is the thinking routine that we're starting out with. It has several different options here, and there are more specific instructions that I'm not going to take the time to read through right now. You can read through it at your own leisure later. And then below the options, it has the rubric. So this rubric is how you score the history journal every day. And there are 3 sections for the rubric, and the rubrics obviously will change based on the different InfoQuests, but they also will have these 3 basic categories no matter the InfoQuest. There's the category of accuracy, completion, and then thoughtfulness. And it's very, very cut and dry. It's not anything fancy. You can read very easily what we're looking for. And your student is going to be aiming for a 3 or a 4 in every category each day. If your student scores lower than an 8 or a 9, which would be a combined total between these three sections, then it would be your job as the parent educator to go back and help your student to add more in order to score a 3 or a 4 in each of the categories. If your student gets a 2 on one of the categories at some point, that's fine. That would still be an 8. So you would get, let's say you got a 3 for accuracy, a 3 for completion, but maybe a 2 for thoughtfulness. That would still be okay. That would be an 8 total, 3 plus 3 plus 2. But anything lower than that is considered incomplete, and it needs to be fixed before you say, okay, we're good for the day. Now, there are also some ways to adapt this for younger students, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So down past the rubric, we have some student examples for this particular type of thinking routine InfoQuest. So these are student samples that they worked on that are just really some great things to take a look at and give you an idea. Okay, so that's that. We're going to go back into our lessons. And here you see, if your student needs more support, he or she can dictate their thoughts, and you as the parent educator can help to type or write down the journal entries. This is particularly useful for younger students. And even sometimes reluctant fifth graders need a bolster at the beginning and then they get better at it toward the end, especially with different types of InfoQuests that are a little bit more detailed, where you can help be the scribe in some areas that can really give your student the extra boost that they need. Okay, so then I'm going to scroll down. Now, day 2, you see here is an online discussion prompt. So these don't happen very frequently. It's going to maybe be once or twice a unit, if at all, depending on the year. But if you see online discussion, that means that that is in place of the InfoQuest. So you will not do the InfoQuest journal that day. Instead, you will help your student to formulate and to record their online discussion post. And there is a rubric that's involved with that. And so what you would do is you would click on that online discussion. It would take you there. It would give you the specific questions, which it's always here in the lesson as well, what the prompt is. And then you would type it, make sure that you check it before that submit button is pushed, and then I would come back and grade it based on the rubric that's there for completion. Please encourage your student not to hit the submit button until you have looked over their work. Please check for capitals and periods and check for complete thoughts. And again, check that rubric to make sure that what is in that discussion post is in line with what we're looking for. And then also encourage your student to take a look at the answers that other students have given too. It is a discussion and they can reply to each other's discussion posts. It would be a great time for you to talk with your student about what's appropriate in a school setting for speaking with good purpose online. We'll be talking a lot about that with our blogging, but this is just another opportunity for them to practice speaking with good purpose online to each other in that discussion post forum. Okay, and then at the end of every week for history, you are going to see this. Actually, I'll scroll up here so that you can see day at a glance. And actually, this is a mistake. I need to go back in here and fix it. But it should have a number 4, submit your weekly homeschool checkup form. So down here, you'll see that it's right here. Complete the homeschool checkup form. So in order to do that, you click right here, or I also have these links at the beginning of every unit as well inside the unit folder. So if you don't want to go here, if maybe you printed all these out ahead of time and you don't want to actually go navigate to this spot, you can just go to that link page. So this is going to be something similar to what you would see each week. It's going to have 2 separate sections, one for the student to fill out, one for the parent to fill out. It is not okay for your student to fill this out for you. Please make sure that this is a joint effort, that you're working together. It's only once a week and it will only take maximum of 5 minutes. So please make sure that you're doing this together. So your student is going to fill in their first and last name, their track, and then the InfoQuest rubric scores. This particular day, there was only day 1 and 3 because day 2 was a discussion. Then it's going to ask, what book are you currently reading for the challenge? So your student's going to fill that in. Is this the same book or a different title from last week? And I do check this just to keep track of where everybody's at with their 40 book challenge and how that's going. What page are you on today? And tell me in 1 to 2 sentences what's happening in the story. And then it asks, did you add to your reading record sheets this week? So in the Reader's Choice tutorial, I'm going to talk more about that. But basically, whatever method you choose to keep track, this is something where you as the parent educator need to be helping your student to keep up on this on a regular basis, whether they're submitting it digitally or writing it on pages, either in their journal or on loose leaf pages that you're going to be bringing to conference. So then if you answered no to that question about recording, please explain why. So the answer might just be as simple as, I didn't finish any books this week. But there might be another reason. So you can fill that out. And then this is the parent educator part. Please type your initials below, verifying that you have reviewed and agree with your student's answers. And please talk to your student at this point about how online initialing for other people is the same as signing for them, and that is not allowed. That's not okay to sign on behalf of someone else. So please have a conversation about that so that they know. And then, did you have a book talk with your student this week? And again, this is covered in the Reader's Choice tutorial, so I'm not going to go into it right now, but that's where that would go. And then you click submit and you are done. So those are all the different aspects of history for Flex. It's pretty straightforward. These lessons are pretty straightforward. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at any time via email. And I do ask finally that you, whenever possible, I totally understand that life happens, things happen, but please be courteous and submit those homeschool checkup forms on time whenever possible. I do go in there, I do check them regularly, and when I'm having to hunt everybody down because they haven't turned them in, it makes it really difficult. And I know you don't like receiving those extra reminder emails too much either. So they are due by the end of the week. So Friday or even Saturday is fine. If that works for you, but please try your best to have those submissions done on time, and that will make things a lot easier for both of us.